So the 15% rule, I've actually got an example here today of a property that I think is a pretty dang good investment. It is right at the 15% rule. And I'll explain why I would purchase this property, and then kind of the thought process on how it all works. So let me kind of share my screen with everybody. All right, this is probably way too small, but we'll do kind of the 15% rule, what it means, how to calculate it, and some live examples on that. So the 15% rule. So this property actually hit our investment portal this week on, is this a good investment, right? It checked a lot of the boxes, but a couple things I wanted to kind of point out here. So I'm going to go through this property specifically, why it could meet the 15% rule, why immediately it wouldn't, but I'll show you how it does, and kind of go from there. So this property, great looking property, right? Oh man, my barking in the background. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. All right, so this property right here, good looking property, decently renovated. Could definitely use some TLC, like huge, great room. The potential is definitely here. This is, so just to kind of, I want to give everybody an idea of like what the place looks like. This pool needs definitely some work, but you shock that bad boy. It's this is why I really think this property is a solid investment. So we had sent out this property to our list of investors earlier this week, but we kind of cherry pick one of the top 5 that we sent, and explain how this one could potentially be a good investment. So this property right here, it is currently listed at a 4.3, 2,800 square foot. So if you go into AirDNA, data provider that you can put in an address and it spits out how much revenue it could produce. So this one right here, 4.3, I went ahead and did the hard work. Could probably sleep 8 guests, 8-10, I would say. Looks like the revenue doesn't change from 8 to 10. Yeah, looks like it's about 60K. So as it sits right now, hopefully you guys can see this. Make this a little bit bigger. So right now, 60K of AirDNA, depending on the purchase price. So the 2 biggest factors to determine the 15% rule, if it checks the 15% checkbox, is the AirDNA revenue divided by the purchase price, or sorry, the opposite. The purchase price divided by the AirDNA revenue. So this property is listed at 580 grand, and this projected revenue is 60 grand right now. I'm going to round up for easy math purposes. So $60,000 divided by 580 is 580, right? 580 is a 10% ROI. So 10%, 10, if you carry the decimal, bring me back to PTSD math school, but you carry the decimal twice, it is a 10%er out of the box. So right now, this is probably not a good investment to the uneducated eye. They're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, AirDNA is low. This needs to, have more revenue, or you need to get a much lower purchase price for that one to make sense. So let's actually, let's say we could get it at 500 grand. So we're getting closer. That's a 12%. That's a 12%er. We still need a lot more of a purchase price discount or an increased revenue to offset that, to get to that 15%. So I think right now, with the purchase and the marketing, the market how it is, you can definitely negotiate. We helped a client get probably, I can't remember, 60 or 70 grand off the purchase price a couple weeks ago. So if you want to negotiate and you're sitting on the sidelines, this is the time to negotiate. Yes, interest rates are high, but purchase prices are coming down. You got to think, when interest rates come down, purchase prices are going to inflate. So This is right now, this is a 10%er just out of the box. Now, I think the easier thing to do here is not, you can definitely negotiate the purchase price, but I think controlling the revenue and upping the revenue with amenities, design, things like that, that is an easier thing to get this over that 15% rule. Let's see. All right, existing Airbnb, the calendar's block. Scott, I'll answer that question here in one sec. So this right here, the thing with AirDNA, they have no idea what amenities are here. They have no idea. They don't know if this place is a dump. They don't know if this place is sparkling clean and has got, you know, all the cash flowing amenities like your pool, your hot tub, your game room, you know, multiple sleeping arrangements, maybe a theater. So this is just looking at this property, this location, this bed bath count, and these total number of 10 guests. So I think this one is a really good thing to do. So let me kind of show you how changing this. Now, this property is not a 5-bedroom, but if it were a 5-bedroom, this increases the revenue substantially. So this is why I love buying bigger single family homes, because your jumps between bedroom counts are just huge versus like a 2 to 3, you're gonna might stay the same. You might add $5,000. This one add $25,000 from a 4 to a 5. Now, this is obviously not a 5-bedroom, but I wanted to just show it to you for demonstration purposes. I mean, actually, with the 5-bed, you could probably do 12 guests. So similar breakdown here. So let's reevaluate this from the start if this was a 5-bedroom, and I'll show you how we kind of tailor the amenities to get there. So $84,000 divided by $580,000. We are at, oh my goodness, people, we are almost at the 15% rule. So the 15% rule is just a, once again, carry the decimal twice, 14.48%. The 15% rule is a starter piece. It is the back of the napkin. You can do this for absolutely free. AirDNA, you can get this number for free. Now, I think we pay for AirDNA, but I'm pretty sure on the free version, you can get these numbers. You can't look at the comps. So you can do this for free. You can find these properties for free on Zillow. It will take you a long time to sift through the crap to find the diamonds. We built a software that runs thousands of properties in seconds and then populates the best ones to the top. So we can only focus on the 5 or 10 best ones and find the 2 or 3 that really make sense. So if you want more info, just shoot me in offline. But this one, so let's say we get this to 5-bedroom. That's when it's like, okay, dude, yes, 14%, like 15%. That one is a good deal. I honestly think with this at a 4-bedroom, let's move it back down to 10 guests, depending on the sleeping arrangements, of course. So we're at roughly 60K. Now, the creative thing that I really like to do here is, man, you've got so much space. I mean, this thing's almost 3,000 square foot. Almost 3,000 square foot. And you've got a ton of outdoor amenities, like a ton of spaces. It's 3 full baths as well, not like 2.5, 2. Nice open bedrooms. I think this is the primary, if I'm not mistaken, with this little thing. But the moneymaker, this right here, I mean, this is a huge value add. Now, if you're selling this property, this is not a bedroom. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't classify this as a bedroom. Once again, I haven't seen the property, but this photo right here, you can add a theater. You make this a game room. You could do both. You could do a hybrid. You could have a little office section over here, along with, maybe black out that window, put a little projection screen down, make this a theater room, and also add like a sleeping arrangement up here. So you can have the kids sleep up here. This is something that will never be a 5-bedroom on paper from a real estate perspective if you're selling the property. Now, if you rent the property on Airbnb, you could hypothetically, do as many sleeping arrangements as you want. Obviously there's a level of like risk and septic and Versity. There's all these regulations, I would not do the whole jam as many people into a house as possible, especially if it's on septic. That's just a liability waiting to happen. Please, please, please do not do that. If you're on city water, city sewer, that's a different story. But make sure you're doing your due diligence on these houses. The second aspect is this bad boy right here. So as you guys know, the property that I purchased has a pool. Pool is going to add probably 10 to 15, sometimes 20 grand of gross revenue. So even at this 4-bedroom, this 60 turns into like 75, 80 with this bad boy. You add actually they have a hot tub here already. Who knows if that conveys? Who knows if you buy it, that'll come with it. You even got a little basketball court, a little hooper hoop here. But that is where the 60 grand goes to like 75, 80. If you are really, really good, you could honestly push this thing to 90 to 100. I think our pool hot tub right now is projected to do about 6 figures, which is freaking crazy. It did like 70 last year, so we're able to add like 30 grand a year. So that's kind of the creative aspect to these houses, that if you're just looking at the house and you don't factor in these different equations with the bonus room, the pool, the hot tub, the added amenities, I mean, this one quickly becomes, with the right manager, a freaking slam dunk property. Now, obviously, it does need a little work. Outdoors, fairly easy. You got to furnish the place. Make the design solid. It doesn't look like it needs much like renovation work. It's mainly just touch-up stuff. I mean, the kitchen looks fairly good. You got an open little concept here. There's really not much to do. Just make it a little newer. These like wood trims and all that. Complete separate training for all that. But hopefully that kind of explains the 15% rule and how you can adjust the numbers to make it make sense. Scott, let me read your question. And if anybody else has any questions, we got 7 people on this live. Appreciate you guys for jumping on. Hopefully this is helpful. Not sure. Hopefully you're cool with me sharing this one. Not sure if you're taking questions after this walkthrough, but figured I might ask. I just got a property under contract. Sweet, dude. That is freaking awesome. Love it. I think we were actually talking about that contract. So congrats, you got it in contract. The already an existing Airbnb. Oh man, this is actually a pretty dang good question. I think I know where you're going with this. The calendar is blocked. Okay, great. That was the number one question I was going to ask. Calendar is blocked. Do I have to wait until the property is deactivated before I can begin my new one? Besides organizing my team, what steps would be taken today if closing is in a couple weeks, appraisal and inspection are complete? Sick, dude. I'm assuming the appraisal and inspection came back well. There's not an appraisal gap. Maybe there is. I don't know. But Scott, great freaking question. So I will answer this in a couple parts. So one, you're taking action. That is the hardest thing, to get off the sideline and go from 0 to 1. So sick, dude. That's freaking awesome. Existing. Okay. So you got the question here is what to do with an existing Airbnb that is already under somebody else's account versus the one that you're going to create. So man, how do I want to package this? You can do a couple different things. You can close off the old one, block the calendar, deactivate it. You can even delete the listing completely and then start a new one. What that does is you can't take the reviews from the old Airbnb listing and copy it to your new one. You used to be able to do that, and on Vrbo, I think you still can do that, but Airbnb specifically doesn't transfer listings. Now, creative way to do this is you can buy this Airbnb account, and then it would be out of the purchase. It would just be separate. Now, if they're a host and they have multiple properties on that Airbnb account, they're probably not going to get rid of it. Now, if there's only one property and this is the only thing that they do, and they're like, I want to get out, I've purchased Airbnb accounts. We've inherited probably 5 over the years that already have existing reviews. We just have to integrate them into our softwares. So that's the like, holy crap, creative thinking out of the box. We've inherited properties with like 50 to 100 reviews, and we just started it. Now, I think Airbnb would say that's probably a breach of their terms and conditions. But right now, like, we've been there, done that. We're actually doing that as we speak for another listing. Now, one thing to note, to do this the right way, just make sure you don't change everything at once. So if you're able to negotiate that and buy it, or maybe they'll hand it over in the purchase, who knows? You can get creative there. Just change a couple things at a time. Email day one, the name a week later, password a week later, your photo. Like, don't change everything that the day that'll raise some flags. They have another listing, so can't purchase. They have a few future bookings. Yep. I figured that was the case. That's most of the case. We've got lucky with a couple of ours. They have a few future bookings they're going to help me transfer. Okay. Yeah. So that's off the table here. Just wanted to add some context. Scott, appreciate you helped me there. If the purchase of the existing one is out of the question, the other one is you've got two. You're going to have to start a new listing separately, right? So the prior owner is going to own that listing and all the reviews and the bookings that they have, and then you're going to start from zero. You can transfer bookings. What you have to do is you'll have to contact the guest and be like, hey, can you cancel? We're going out of business or whatever. We're selling the property. And then you can send them the link to your new listing, and then they can rebook. And you can do it for the same amount, the same price, just to make the guest happy. So you can like transfer those listings over. That's probably what I would do if I could. Now, that includes like working with the prior manager and making sure they're probably going to want their fee and all that crap. Like, I've seen splitting that fee, but like 50% to whoever booked it, and then 50% for whoever manages that. That's a win-win that we've done with other PMs. Now, everyone's could be different. Some people are like, nope, I'm taking all the bookings. It is what it is. So you can figure that out. So yes, you will have to start it new, integrate everything there. What I would do, block the calendar, and then I would unlist it under the other PM. That's probably the best way to do it. I've had to, like, sometimes that will raise flags with Airbnb. If you've got 2 listings that have the same address, will call it duplicate listings. So a way around that is you'll just need to send in your paperwork of like, hey, I bought this, like your purchase agreement, Scott, your appraisal, your inspection, like all that stuff, to say this owner does not own this property anymore. I own the property as of this date. And then that's why this listing should be active, not this old one. So we've honestly got that done. We've probably had to do that maybe 3 times, where we would just send in the new property management agreement to Airbnb, and they're like, okay, yep, got it. You are good to go. So that is how you kind of navigate that with the duplicate listings. Technically, there is 2. I've had properties where we would have 2 listings and nothing would get flagged. And it's just like, this one's live, this one's unlisted, and you're good to go. And we never hear from it. It's usually, I don't know, I'd probably say maybe 25 to 50% of the time it gets flagged as a duplicate listing. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. Let's think, is there any kind of follow-up questions to that, Scott? And I'll think if there's anything else to really think through. If you are on like an API integrated property management software, where like you're handling payments through Stripe or some of these other ones, there is a level of integration to do, which usually takes a week to 2 weeks to get everything kind of moved over. That's a delay that could happen. I think you'll probably be on Hospitable, which still uses Verbo's payment method. So that you won't have any delays there, which is great. So that's really all that you should need to think about in this process. I know it's a lot of moving pieces, working with the other PM and getting everything set up. Like, one thing that I probably would is see if you can purchase their photos if they're good. Like, if they already have professional photos, they're not going to need them. You know, usually a couple $100. You're about, hey, can I, Venmo you for the photos, $100. Sometimes they'll give it to you for free. So get all of like the marketing, the copy. I would download all the prior reviews and throw it in a chat GPT and say, hey, what are guests complaining about? Where are some opportunities? That's something that we do whenever we inherit listings, just to summarize what goes well at the property and what doesn't go well. Like if you constantly have cleanliness complaints, you probably not going to want to use that same cleaner. But if you have sparkling cleaning reviews and they're like, oh my God, like everything was perfect, the supplies, the amenities, everything was good to go, then you might want to keep that cleaner. So if there's like something over and over again and you can see a trend happening where guests are complaining, like a common one, oh, there's not enough kitchen supplies. While I'm in contract with that new property, I'm buying kitchen supplies. I'm already ordering that stuff. So as soon as I take the first reservation on mine, those issues are already fixed. I'm thinking about drafting a new listing, calling Airbnb right before clicking go live to give them info paperwork, using the previous owner photos before retaking my own, and then clicking go live right after I leave the closing table. I honestly, if you can, so this is, I'm glad you asked this, man. If you can get the photos beforehand, dude, you've got a 30-day lead time that if you can get all the marketing and all that done, like at the beginning of your under contract phase and your due diligence phase, dude, I would go ahead and go live immediately and just block the calendar until you have, like, let's say your closing date is next month on the 1st. So April, May 1. Let's say your closing date is May 1. You've got 3 weeks of booking lead time. Now, closings gets pushed back, things get delayed. I wouldn't do it for the exact date that you're closing. Just give yourself and your loan officer and all that some leeway room to get that in the future. But let's say May 1, I would probably do it for like May 7th or May 10th to give you, a week or so when things screw up. So that way you're not taking a reservation and you're not actually owning that property. So that completely rides on getting the photos from the prior owner, because you're probably not going to be able to take your own photos at the property. I mean, maybe you could negotiate that. Hey, let me get new photos during inspection. Maybe just not tell them and send a photographer out there during the inspection or walkthrough or whatever. So, man, there's so many freaking creative ways. I love this stuff. This is chess, not checkers. Like there's so many ways to do this and kind of get ahead. It's just strategically thinking through all the different scenarios. Cool, man. Appreciate it, Scott. Thanks for jumping on. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you for watching. We still got a decent amount of people in here. Thanks for watching. Hopefully the 15% rule has helped you guys. Go out. I mean, honestly, somebody buy this bad boy. Somebody buy this. Like I will help you purchase this, even if you use our management or not. Like this thing, this is a beast. If I had the cash right now, I would buy this bad boy. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace. Love y'all.